Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to Layer by Layer, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today we're going to talk about tangled filament, Velo3D having a little bit of trouble, a moment of Munro live, and some updates on our software and that kind of thing. So first of all, Velo3D changed CEOs this week. This is after the stock price kind of took a little bit of a tumble over the last few weeks. The tumble is sort of relative. They're down to $110 million valuation at the last check here. But effectively what happened is that Velo3D seems to have a number of financial issues, mainly the fact that they just lost money every year. Last year they had a loss of $90 million. Currently, I don't know what their current year financials are on that. This was for 2022. And they have $140 million in working capital. So that basically means that they have about a year and a half of operating money around at their current burn rate, which means that the new CEO's job is to come in and efficientize the whole place so that it can actually turn a profit or at least kind of stop the bleeding. This is the original CEO is still going to be chairman of the board, still on the board, I believe chairman of the board. But they're just going to go through restructuring and try to get it. Velo3D is a metal 3D printing company. They were known for having done work with like SpaceX and that kind of thing for 3D printed rocket motors, like on the Dragon capsule. That kind of place is where a lot of their stuff was used because rocket motors really benefit from 3D printing. They're a wildly better way of making stuff than traditional ways of manufacturing things. But that's that. That's pretty much all the news for this week. The next topic, Sandy Munro. So a video came out. Obviously, y'all probably heard about the Cybertruck came out a week or two ago. Kind of big deal. Everybody's been talking about it. It's a little bit more expensive than people thought. But if you're interested in manufacturing, I highly recommend that you check out the YouTube channel Munro Live, where the company Munro and Associates, which is a reverse engineering, that's not a fair thing. Basically kind of a research firm that breaks down products and kind of says, okay, this is how it was made, this is how you could make it, that kind of thing. And effectively what they do, they became kind of famous during the Tesla Model 3 ramp up, because Sandy, who runs the firm, mentioned that the original Model 3s were garbage, and they were a terrible piece of manufacturing and design and quite frankly engineering, which Tesla rapidly moved away from. And between the first Model 3s coming off the line and about the 2020 Model 3s coming off the line, they got radically better. I mean, Tesla just improved so quickly. And Sandy, who is the head of Munro and Associates there, became very impressed and a big Tesla fan because Tesla was able to just iterate and improve and get better over time so quickly to where they went from the worst possibly made car to what is arguably one of the better made cars today. So he's a big fan of them for that. But they were going through the Cybertruck stamping line down at the Cyber Factory in Texas, not the Cyber Factory, the Gig Factory, where the Cybertruck is made in Texas. If you're interested in manufacturing lines and kind of mass production, I really highly recommend you go watch that video. And I think it's touring the Cybertruck, stamping, pressing, cutting line. What they do is in the video, they go from the sheets of steel, this custom alloy steel that the Cybertruck uses, go through to it being cut, the blanks being cut, to those blanks then being bent, to being assembled and stamped, hot stamped, and that kind of thing. So it's really fascinating. And it's fascinating in the context here of 3D printing because the very first step in that process is the cutting of the blanks. And the blanks are cut with a large throughput fiber laser, but it's a laser, not unlike the table lasers that you've probably seen around within the context of making and 3D printing and that kind of stuff. But it's very interesting that they're using an automated laser rather than actual stamps or die cutting systems for the steel. First of all, I think the steel chews up the dies a little bit too quickly, so that's not an option. But the other thing is that Tesla changes and evolves their vehicles very quickly. And having a digital cutting process where they can just update the design of the blanks or readjust them a little bit or add in a new hole or whatever it happens to be, and they're able to update the design of the vehicle going forward within the actual production line is a big deal. And in the context of 3D printing and mass production, it's a great demonstrator because most people would say, oh, you gotta stamp it out, but you don't. A CNC laser is able to output the doors and sidewalls and other blanks for the Cybertrucks at a high enough rate. Now they're gonna put multiple of these in a row so that they have some parallelization, but it's very similar to like how print farms work, because you just line up a bunch of machines to get the throughput that you need. The individual machine speed is not as important as people want, so long as the economics of throughput compared to the number of machine costs works out well. So it's interesting in that context, but then the rest of it, the downstream stuff, if you're just interested in how factories operate and how the Cybertruck is being made, it's a very cool walkthrough. If you're not interested in that stuff, it's gonna be boring as all get out. But I wanted to highlight it because it's a really cool video that was just super fascinating because it's almost an entirely digital manufacturing line. It starts with the blanks being cut by a laser, and then they go into die presses to be, I don't want to say cast, but stamped into shape. But they're stuck in an oven, heated up, stamped into shape, and then they're welded to the inner and the outer and that kind of stuff. Everything I'm saying would make more sense if you watched the video. So go over there, watch the video. I recommend it. It's a good video about how stuff is made and what Tesla is up to and a digital manufacturing process. Because Tesla is now able to update their cars immediately and make small adjustments as people give them feedback. It's like, oh, we need to make an adjustment to the switch or move that button over here or whatever it happens to be. They're able to update it right at the start of the assembly line. And it's updated for forever, which is the same as 3D printing your part. You can update your product forever into the future, and each one made after that is then updated. Side note on this, a few folks have commented on if you're selling in Walmart, you can't update the design. Yes, you can. You can update the product inside the box anytime you want to, so long as it continues to be the same product. So making a modification to the design of it in production and throughout delivery is totally fine, so long as you don't change the price and you don't change what the product is. You can't put a rubber duck inside of a loofah box, but you can make a rubber duck with a slightly different designed beak and that kind of stuff so that it is still representative. You can make a rubber duck that is safer. You can make a rubber duck that floats better. You can do whatever you want so long as it still is what is displayed inside of the box and doesn't cost Walmart anymore. So digital manufacturing is absolutely able to work inside of the current supply chains, especially if you're close to the company who controls its distribution like Tesla. And so long as you're not lying about what the product becomes. If you've changed it so much that now it's a different thing, then you'll want to update packaging and probably call up your distributors to say, hey, this is basically a different product now. Next month when the upgrades go into place, we're gonna have to change pricing and whatever else it was and marketing and that kind of thing. In that instance is when it matters. But from the product creation company's standpoint, digital manufacturing is fantastic because as soon as a customer comments, it doesn't work right for this, they're able to update it and move on with life. And Tesla has always embraced this from a very early on, and their production lines are so flexible. Like if you're interested in lean manufacturing and efficient manufacturing and everything that has come from Toyota and that kind of thing in the 70s and 80s, Tesla is doing that, but on a whole new level, with a whole new level of digitization and that kind of stuff. Here inside of Boise, we have Micron. Their headquarters is located here in Boise, Idaho. Micron is a memory chip company. I have a friend who's an engineer over there who works near to us for a little bit, and he was running an anodization company. And I asked him about this when the Model 3 was ramping up in like 2021 or so. And I was like, do you know quite a bit about manufacturing? Dwayne, do you know what they're doing? And he was like, we don't know what they're doing. It's a whole different monster. I was like, well, I was hoping somebody would figure it out. But basically, from what I've been able to piece together since then, is really, even though Tesla certainly their manufacturing process and technology is almost more protected than whatever's in the cars, because they know somebody can tear apart the cars, but people don't get access to the factories. But Tesla effectively has created such a smart factory to where it's so easy to digitally update a product back here, and then the entire system downstream updates itself and redirects itself and tells everybody what's different and keeps an eye on it, to where it's enough of a robot, the entire factory, that changing something doesn't confuse or break up everything. But then they're also just using standard lean principles throughout too, where people can change stuff and move things and that kind of stuff. But they've just made it so lightning quick how fast they make the changes by enabling it through technology, not just using freaking stickers for keeping carts run around like traditional Toyota stuff. They're actually have a digital infrastructure that's supporting it, which many factories just don't because they don't think that way. But all of that is to say, go watch that video of the Cybertruck being made. It's really cool because they cut out the Cybertruck blanks with a laser that has a 0.3 or 30 micron accuracy when it's generally 1 millimeter, and they're made custom for Tesla and all the rest of it. It's a lot like the Giga castings. It's a really cool thing. And it's a little bit surprising because generally blanks for panels of cars are chopped out using some sort of a stamp. But they can't do that because they made the metals too tough. Well, maybe it's theoretical. You can make something to cut out anything, but cutting it with a laser is very likely easier because you don't have any of the draw issues or the stretching and all the things. Anyhow, recommend going and seeing that if you're interested in manufacturing. It's a really cool video. Okay. Couple of updates. Software updates. The API was a little bit delayed. We ran into an issue on that. It will be coming out in early January is where it's scheduled right now. We ran into a couple of issues where we had to get them addressed, and launching in the middle of Christmas wasn't a good time. The Etsy app has had a number of bug fixes. Thank you all who continue reporting those. A few folks have had an issue where in particular browsers, the on-off master button, if you flip it off, it flips back to on a refresh of the page. It is off, but the front end UI is not connected is not communicating with the database correctly in that instance, and it's giving kind of a false positive. That will be fixed in the next day or so. So just so you guys all know about that. Actually, by the time this podcast has gone out, it's fixed already. So that has been fixed. Thank you everybody who let us know about that. It was a weird little situation. So that's fixed now. And we're fulfilling orders from the Etsy app as much as possible. If you're having any issues or anything else, let us know. So that we can definitely get those fixed for you. Because certainly we don't want to jack with anybody on all of this stuff. So the Etsy app, we've been running it here for the last several weeks. And hopefully helping folks out here at Christmas. That was the goal of the whole thing. Okay. Testing lab. The testing lab is active right now on Kickstarter. We have a number of people. Right now it's set up with two backing options, which is either corporate or normal customer, which was a spool of filament, $20, and you can help make the testing lab. And obviously backers will get to help vote on certain topics and that kind of thing. A few people have asked for an intermediary backer option there. We don't know what to give yet. We don't know what a fair trade is at that thing. We think $20 from a bunch of folks is fair for what we're going to be producing as far as the videos coming along with that. But if you think that there's some other reward that, guys, quite frankly, can't be shipped. We can't make stuff for this one. We're too busy. But if there's something digital or something along those lines, doing a live stream or something else, let us know your ideas and we can introduce that intermediary tier. So the Kickstarter is going really well right now. I think it's 42% funded right now. So it was $10,000 was the goal, and it's at $4,200 right now, which gets us to the first tensile and compression testing machine. If we get to 13,000, we add in a UV tester, which a lot of folks have asked for, and then on from there. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Let us know what you think. We want to get that filament testing lab and printer testing lab built in the spring. The first video for that will probably start coming out about I'm going to say March. That might be a little bit early. March. Just for getting the machinery in, because a number of the pieces of machinery would be coming from China, and China has Chinese New Year, which is all in January, and then the actual time on the boat and that kind of thing, which is why you don't want to do molds and nothing over there too. Putting stuff on container shipping across the ocean is slow. It's where the stuff is made, but that's not our fault. We're working on that. That's why we're here. That's why we built this company, to hopefully leapfrog some of this stuff. But anyway, that's where the testing lab is. Looks like it's going to work. I mean, if you've already backed us, please do share it around so that folks are aware of it. It's a big help. We really appreciate that. And hopefully we can get some good content and good data out there. Oh, there was a question a number of people have asked of will the data be posted anywhere so it's not pausing in a video? Yes, all of the data, all the raw data will be posted right now in a shared drive. We have it on the roadmap to create a site where it's committed there, but that site will probably be a separate monster. It looks, this project is going to be a long and ongoing process. This is the first step in a very long journey. So what we will probably do long term is set this up as a Patreon to where people can ask for individual tests. We have maintenance for the website, that kind of thing, and just have it ongoing, and then have special access to certain things like, hey, this new material came out. Well, if you're a member of the Patreon, then you get early testing access to that data for the first 3 months or something, or whatever it was. It lends itself to that sort of a model really well, to where it's sustainable. And we can have a dedicated team to it rather than an individual project or a batch of videos there. So long-term Tangled testing will likely be kind of made its own individual unit and content. Right now, the videos will be posted here on the Slant 3D channel. It will probably get spun off into its own YouTube channel at some point too, because it just creates less of a conflict of interest rather than being on the core Slant 3D channel where we talk about mass production printing. Filament and testing of the 5 Amazon brands or whatever it happens to be doesn't really fit on this channel very well. So that will probably get spun off, and yes, I don't know when the site will come down, but we understand that it's necessary and needed to get all that data aggregated, and so we'll be working on that. And but yeah, short term, the Kickstarter is for 20 core testing videos posted here on the channel. All that data will be put in like a Google Drive where you all can get access it. And if anybody wants to help, that data is available. Go build the site yourself. We won't stop you, and we'll continue to update the data cache. So the database, that's a way better name than data cache, but the database. So that's where the testing lab is. Tangled. Tangled. We talked about going spoolless last week, but yes, Tangled will be ramping back up again in mid to late January. We released Wonk. Everybody bought all the Wonk already. So that happened too. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for all of that. We're on track. We were working on the large extrusion line, the large high-speed extrusion line, because it's just another thing that needs done in all of this. But the large extrusion line system we have mocked out. It's really big. Yeah, it's really big, guys. We don't have a forklift that can move these machines around that we're looking at. So we've got the building for it, we've got the place, we've got the tanks, we've got the spooling stuff and everything all tied up, but the extruder's a monster. Like, it's the size of a large pickup truck, but it's cast iron. Imagine something like that. That's about how big this extruder is. So, but it'll let us make filaments super fast, super cheap, and ideally super reliably. So that'll get bigger and faster and better and all the things. So that's where Tangled is. We got in the order of the 3 kg spools. Those are coming in. They'll come in early January. And we'll start spooling them up and start releasing batches, and ideally have continuous supply about mid-February based on demand right at the moment here. So we're getting that ramped up, but everybody's standing by, so we should be good. Okay. That's pretty much all the updates. That's all the updates. This video, I believe, is coming out on Christmas Eve. So if you're here right now, I recommend that you get off YouTube right now, stop listening to morons like me, and go spend some time with your family and enjoy the Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone, and have a great day.